come on down this way. Yeah, let's get out the way we came in. Okay, come on back. Everybody down. Charles? Yeah, right here. Hey, go out the way we came in. Yeah. Come on, okay. All right, guys. Everybody. Right here. Yeah. We got it. How's the way out of here? Go right.
It's 2 minutes before the top of the hour. AP Network News. Good morning, I'm Ross Simpson. Air Jordan is apparently ready for takeoff. Former NBA superstar Michael Jordan is on his way back to the NBA. President Bush is going to get an earful from Republican members of Congress when he hosts the annual congressional barbecue tonight at the White House. The president visits a school today to tout his education proposals before heading back to Washington. Laura Bush travels to Capitol Hill.
I woke up at 6 o'clock to the ringing of a phone. The meeting that I was supposed to attend was moved from the Marriott Midtown to the Marriott at World Trade.
Watch your step, please. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Watch your step, please.
This meeting was very important. And I shared a lot of the details with Ruth, my sister. And she said, Ron, you know, stand out. And I said, look, I have a new suit and a nice bright yellow tie. And Ruth thought that was perfect for this meeting. And taking the ferry across in the morning, walking through where the boats are, there was a man with a glass of champagne, you know, cheering people. And he passed a comment that I had a good suit on. You know, he said, that's a good suit. So I felt very confident that things look good, not a cloud in the sky. Let's get this meeting over with.
I worked at the hotel that was between the two towers, and I was a production chef. The Greenhouse restaurant at the back of the hotel was all glass, so when you look up, you had the two towers going up. And when you look out, you had the courtyard. The first time I saw them, I was going in for an interview. It was like love at first sight. They're massive. And they go literally into the sky. And I remember thinking to myself, this is where I want to be.
American 11, climb maintain level 350. American 11, Boston. This is Adam. This is Boston. I turned American 20 left, and I was going to climb him. He will not respond to me. Looks like he's turning right.
Two Alpha. Notify Conrad to respond. 10-4.
I was a battalion chief in the 1st Battalion. And my responsibility was for the tip of Manhattan. I'm the first one in my family to be a firefighter. My father was a letter carrier in the post office. And after I became a firefighter, a number of years later, my brother joined the fire department too. Kevin was 3 years younger than me, so it was always this looking up to the older brother, sibling. I'm following in your footsteps, and every now and then I'll do you.
Danny, is that as you good? Yeah, it's good. Chief on and let the traffic good, over.
Battalion chief was just a great rank. It allowed me to step back a little bit, and yet, at the same time, to be connected to our firefighters.
It's an S5 box is what he called it. I don't think it goes into... And these babies are all locked up. We have to start forcing things.
That morning, I had 20 years and 6 days in the fire department. In other words, I could have retired 6 days earlier because I had my 20 years in. But I was enjoying being in the fire department so much that I didn't even think about retiring.
All of us is just a connection, bunch of connections. All right. 25.
And then we get a call for a gas leak on the corner of Church Street and Lispinard.
Two Alpha.
The gas main's right here, right alongside this. The gas line looks like a 6-inch gas main. So.
That day, I was working as the aide to Chief Viper. And that was a position that I had only done like once or twice.
Tell me of several manhole covers that have blown.
Being a battalion aide is a very important job. But I was always a truck guy. I love being in the truck because you get to break down doors, break windows. It was like being a big kid. Listen, we were never looking forward to people's houses burning down. That wasn't it. But you did look forward to going to fires. You know, it was your job. It's what you were paid to do. And the feeling you got was very intense. And while it was going on, definitely, I've been in a lot of scary situations. But when it was done, you couldn't wait for the next one. As we pull onto the West Side Highway and I look up, it was overwhelming.
My job. My job was to take command. And I knew we had firefighters would come in and take care of them.
People were running around, and I could start to smell kerosene in the hotel lobby. So I walked over to the revolving doors, and I looked out. I couldn't figure out what was happening. And I saw this woman coming through the haze with her hands out. And I just couldn't figure out for the life of me, like, what was wrong with her. And as I went closer to her and as she walked to me, I could see she was badly burnt. And I could see that she was still smoldering. So I brought her into the lobby and I sat her down by the wall. She said she couldn't see and that there was a ball of flame. And her eyes were like pretty much burnt shut. So after a minute or two, after I could get her calmed down a little bit, I asked her name. Said her name was Jenny Ann Maffeo. And she said she was on her way to work. And then she said, "Holy Mother of God, don't let me die." She said, "Help me. Don't let me die, help me."
Said he couldn't find an elevator that was working. So that meant that firefighters had to climb. And the top would be 110 stories.
Elevators. Elevators. What do you got running? Nothing is running. You find out so you get your freight, anything going up?
And as firefighters came in, they came in quietly. There's noise from the equipment we carry, but they didn't say a lot. They were thinking about what lied ahead. And they thought about how they would handle it. And I could remember one lieutenant coming up to me, lieutenant from Engine 33, not saying a word. And we looked at each other, wondering if each of us was going to be okay. And then I told that lieutenant, as I told many other officers that came in, I said, take your firefighters, go upstairs. As you go up, evacuate the building, and then go up to the 70th floor where you'll regroup so we could rescue those that are trapped. The lieutenant turned around, took his firefighters, and as he turned around and started to go upstairs, that was the last time I saw my brother Kevin.
We had a long way to go. But when I was 18, I joined the Marine Corps. And I remember in boot camp, it rung back in my head a jingle that we used to say when we were marching, 1, 2, 3, 4, I love the Marine Corps. And that's what that popped in my head when I was climbing the stairs. That old jingle from the Marine Corps in boot camp. It just came right back. It was amazing, because I hadn't thought about that for, my God, over 30 years. And it just all came back to me, you know. And it helped me get through, helped me climb those stairs. The stairways are relatively narrow, but everybody handled themselves very well. Nobody panicked. People were thanking us. Thanks for doing a great job. And I just said to the guys, it's going to be a tough day, but we're going to get through it.
Planes, some hit the World Trade Center. Some have it at the World Trade Center. It's not good.
George has been kind enough to call us for some of the information about this incident as we look at live pictures of the World Trade Center. An airplane crashing into the side of the World Trade Center. This happening is as far as I can tell.
It's a plane crashed into it.
And live pictures from the scene. George, again, tell me, you saw people walk to the street in front of you.
I'm in the walk-in refrigerator for a good 15 minutes. The door's closed. And when I come out of the refrigerator, there's nobody there. There's no kitchen staff, there's no waiters, there's just nobody there. And I'm like, where's everybody at? Where's everybody at? I look into the chef's office and I notice the ceiling is cracked. There's a crack in the wall, there's a little bit of water coming down. And then a guest comes in from the restaurant and I go to tell him, like, you can't be here. You gotta go back out. But I already noticed he had a crazed look in his eye. And then he's like, just go look. Just go look. As I'm pushing the door open, there's something caught in the door. And I'm looking at it thinking, it's a dead animal. So I'm like, what is this, what is this dead animal doing here? And I look closely, and it's an arm. And then I get ready to go back in. He said, no, 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 no. Go outside and look. As I look around the courtyard, there's nobody there. I saw burning pieces of metal everywhere. I saw pieces of luggage. I had no idea where they came from. I look around the corner, and there's bodies everywhere. As far as I can see, it's like just broken up bodies. Like, that's all I can see, maybe 100 bodies just broken up into little pieces, just arms and legs and heads and everything. And like, so like right away I'm freaking out. And then a body comes falling out the sky and lands right in front of me. Just boom, like loud, and just like breaks up when it hits the ground. And then like a friend of mine, I don't even know where he came from. He's like, "Did you see that, Kevin? Did you see that?" And it's like, "Yeah, I saw that." So now we're trying to figure out how to get out. He was saying, and probably correctly so, never get on the elevator. And I remember thinking to myself, it's only 2 stories. I would be downstairs before you know it. And I remember pressing a button, thinking to myself, if the door opens up, I'm getting on it. I press the button, the door opens up, I look at it, Abdul says, "Come on, you coming, you coming?" And he says no, and he goes all the way. And I get on the elevator, and he never made it out.
You're listening to live, continuous coverage of a plane crash into the World Trade Center this morning. This is 1010 Wins WINS New York. I'm James Faraday. Now for more on the story, 1010 Wins newsman Lee Harris. Good morning, and it is not a good morning in New York City. A major disaster, a plane crash into the World Trade Center. We're on the line with 1010 Wins account executive Joan Fleischer, a witness to this terrible unfolding scene. Joan, could you maybe just recap for those just joining us what happened?
When I was on the floor with Jenny Ann, I held her hand and I yelled, numerous times for EMS, for emergency services, for help. Nobody was coming. People were just running by one after another, and I got concerned. So I ran into the bathroom, pulled a clean plastic bag, and I filled it with water and patted Jenny Ann down with it. And I could see that Jenny Ann's clothes were fused into her skin. While we were on the floor, and when there was no emergency services help or aid coming, Jenny Ann was getting more and more concerned that she was going to die. She said, "Sacred Heart of Jesus, save me. I don't want to die." And I said, "Are you Catholic?" She said she was. So I said to her, "Let's say the Lord's Prayer." Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
his vantage point on 14th Street. And again, we're talking about a plane crash into the World Trade Center. Kai, what did you see and what can you see now?
Well, I saw the plane come overhead. I happened to be looking south towards the World Trade Center. There's now another explosion occurring right at this moment in the other building.
There's no doorway. Scott, let's get out of here. Get out of here.
And Deputy Chief, the Division Chief Pete Hayden, gave us an order. Half of us would stay in the North Tower. The other half would proceed to the South Tower.
Then it was my turn. It was my turn to go stand in front of Chief Hayden. Our orders were to go upstairs in the North Tower for search and rescue. And one of the firemen from Rescue 1 looked up, he said, "We may not live through today." And we stopped, and we thought about what he said. He said, "You're right, we may not." And we stopped, and we took the time to shake each other's hands and wish each other good luck. And it's great knowing you. And hope I see you later. And of all those guys I was surrounded by, I'm the only one that's alive. They all died. So I walked over to where my guys were standing by, guys from Ladder 6. And I say to them, "It's all right, guys, here's the deal. It's a raw deal, but this is what we have to do. We have to go upstairs for search and rescue."
The repeater radio system got knocked out when the first plane hit. So Chief Piper's having a horrible time trying to get in touch with anybody on the upper floor. And that's when he sent me back out to see if I could grab the repeater radios. When I stepped out of the building, it was absolute chaos at this time. People trying to go out, firemen trying to come in. And I look up, and there were hundreds of people hanging onto the building. That's one of the things that sticks with me every day.
Look, another man. Oh, God Almighty. Oh, God Almighty. Oh, God Almighty. Oh, God.
I can't imagine being in those people's shoes, having to make the choice of either burning to death or I mean, jumping and knowing you're dying. Horrible. That's absolutely horrible. Poor people.
But we knew exactly what it was every time it happened. Another life being lost. And it would rattle us for a couple seconds. But it was almost motivating us to push even further, to get to the people that were trapped. And I grabbed the PA system and I made an announcement to wait, if you can, we're coming.
Aviation 6, okay. Aviation 6%, okay.
Be advised that on the 106th floor, the floor is crumbling. People are trapped at that location.
Got it, Central.
In 1993, we were able to rescue people off the roof. So having experienced this somewhat before, we kind of thought that was going to be the same game plan. And I had so much confidence in the skill of this pilot flying his helicopter that I was like, If there's somebody there, we're going to be able to get them off.
You cut car 845 off. 45, somebody's cut you off. 10-5 it.
But as we're approaching, you could start to see the size and scope of this.
You stand by. You stand by what? We'll get the Harbor Base on it. Say what Central Harbor Base, Jay.
First thing we did was survey the rooftops of both the north and the south tower.
Command post on the air, command post.
The south tower, the amount of smoke that was billowing up and coming over the roof, just, it was out of play.
Aviation on the air? Aviation on the air. Aviation 3, proceed with the message. People hanging off the windows about 5 floors from the top. There's at least 50 people hanging on.
We proceeded over to the north tower, and there was an opening by the northwest corner.
Corner central.
57 Truck 1, proceed, James.
We're taking a look at the northwest corner of the north building.
I could make out the little pebbles on the roof. I could see the individual pebbles. That's how close we were.
The male hanging on the side of the building on the Church Street side.
We continued circling the towers. If we could have saw somebody there, we would have made a try, but there was nobody up there. My heart just sunk into my stomach, and I'm looking out the window of the helicopter, and I'm seeing people. I'm seeing mothers, I'm seeing fathers, I'm seeing brothers, I'm seeing sisters, literally, and standing on the damaged portion of the building what looked like white napkins, handkerchiefs, tablecloths, and they were waving them to let us know we need assistance. We need assistance. Can you help us? And there were so many, and there's nothing you can do, but you're witnessing it. You're watching it. And I was reading those facial expressions and those look in the eyes. And I'm sure they were looking back at us, and they maybe were reading our facial expressions that it was bad. It was very bad.
There was nothing he could do for us. I think we actually waved to him, and that was it, and then they flew away. So I told everybody to call their families. I called John, my fiance. My voice shook, and John asked me what was going on. And I said, John, we're on the 89th floor. We're trapped here. The door to the stairwell is jammed shut, and we can't get out. And I don't know when it'll get fixed. I don't know what will happen. But we are trapped on the 89th floor. I think at that time, when we were making our phone calls, there were probably a lot of people throughout the World Trade Center making similar phone calls, calling friends, family, loved ones, and communicating probably fear, anxiety, and love. I think all of those emotions were just running rampant throughout everybody.
Mom, it's Steven. My building got hit by a plane, and right now I think I'm okay. I'm safe now, but it's smoky. I just want to say how much I love you, and I will call you when I'm safe. Okay, Mom? Bye.
Hon, I love you. I don't know what's going on. Tell the kids. Save this message your whole life. I love you. I don't know what's going on here. Bye.
I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and we just wanted you to know that I love you always.
The FBI is looking at reports that there was a plane hijacking before the crashes, and while we don't have any reports of casualties at this time, looking at the scene, the gaping holes in both towers, the smoke and the flames, it is reasonable to assume that there has been massive loss of life in New York City this morning. Again, this makes the World Trade Center bombing of about 9 years ago look like a relatively minor incident.
After the second plane hit, a rumble came through the lobby. I can remember standing up in shock, wondering, what the hell is that? I knelt down beside Jenny Ann again, and I said to her, you know, we should try and get out of here if we can. Around the same time, pieces of ceiling were falling. The vapor was getting thicker. You know, you could see a haze, a gray haze, with the kerosene smell was developing more, and people were just panicking and running. And somebody said help was on the way, but we had to walk for the help. That help was on the opposite side of the highway. And as I entered the street, a fireman approached me with a white helmet. Always remember him, and he said, for f***'s sake, get out of here as fast as you can, run. And so I asked Jenny Ann if she could run, and she said she could. And so our group ran across the West Side Highway. While they were packing Jenny Ann into the ambulance, I leaned over and said to her, "You're going to make it. You got to make it now." All I knew was I'd been through something horrific, and all I wanted to do was just go home, have a shower, go back to life. And it was probably 20 minutes when the phone rang, and it was my sister's husband, David McCourt. David asked me if I knew where Ruth was. Ruth was a little bit over a year and a half younger than me. We were very close. Juliana was Ruth's daughter, the most loveliest child you could imagine. And David caught me by surprise. I'm like, David, like, why don't you know where she is? And he said, Ron, they were going to California. They were on the plane that left Boston. United 175. I think I got down on my knees and I cried. I couldn't believe like that, you know. I was literally saying the Lord's Prayer with this woman on the ground of World Trade Center. You know, when my sister's plane hit, the most special people were killed. This was my world, never to be the same again.
The smoke was so thick, it was hard to see. But I was trying not to think too much about the fear. So I would go out and check the door, and it was always jammed. And then the one time I did go out, there was a sudden pounding on the door. And I saw these two white hands coming through. And then the door opened and the smoke went out. And there were two men standing there in helmets with flashlights and an axe. They had come to rescue us. They told us to get out, go downstairs, and run. And they went up to rescue more people. And I also learned that they did not survive. They were such good, brave souls that I do call them angels, because I think that they were. And they were doing everything they could that day to make sure that people got out of the tower. And as I said, they went up when they should have gone down to save themselves, but they didn't. They went up and put themselves back in harm's way just to save other people. So I do think they were angels. They were true heroes.
Every firefighter and every first responder knew this was dangerous. They saw the smoke and the flames coming from the top of the building. But they also knew that people were in their greatest moment of need.
Two, one. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us.
Every cell in my body said, get out of here.
Yoily, in!
And he's telling me to cut his leg off.
Oh my God.
Nobody is coming to save us. We have to get out of this building on our own.
There is still one more aircraft somewhere.
I took the phone and I heard Mark's voice. He said, "Mom, I just want to tell you I love you. There are 3 guys on board who've taken over the plane, and they say they have a bomb. You believe me, don't you, Mom?"
He was on the radio. He was talking to me. And he said, "I'm coming for you, brother. I'm coming for you."
Make a maneuver, and next thing I knew, bam!
We stood right in front of the elevator. Delisa and I and 18 other people from my office. These are all big shots. The head of human resources, the general manager, all these big shots, they're standing up right there. Not a word is said. The elevator door was open, we got in. As I'm getting out of the door, the security guard looks at me and says, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. I saw fireballs falling from the other building. He said, your building is safe, it's secure, go back to your office. You can hear the whoop whoop signals. Your building is safe, it's secure, go back to your office. Nobody else is coming out. Delee stepped out, and she said, Stan, I'm scared. I want to go home. I said, well, go. Take the rest of the day off. I had that choice to go back in that elevator at that point or go home, so I don't know what to do. The doors are about to close, and Jack Andriacchio is holding on to one end, and Manny Gomez is holding on to the other end. Come on, Stan the man. You're not scared to go back up. Come on, Stan, we don't have all day here. And I walked back in that elevator. And all I was doing was being faithful to authority. They said, go back. All right, so we go back. The door closes, and I can still remember the look of the faces of everybody in that elevator. Because I was the last one who stepped in, and everybody's looking at me like, why did you take so long? We were waiting on you. Not realizing I would never see them again.
We saw a lot of things that day that no one should see. To this day, I still have my times when I can't take it anymore, you know, and I still think about it. There were times when I would go over the Brooklyn Bridge going into work, and it just got me so bad that I couldn't take it anymore. And there was, as I was driving over the bridge, I actually felt myself almost trying to jerk the wheel off to the side to just drive off the edge of the bridge just so I didn't have to deal with it anymore. You know, and every time I did that, I was like, you can't do this, you know, you just keep going, you can do this. I worked as an emergency medical technician. I was young, 21-year-old kid, and we were driving down to the Trade Center to help people. As we pull up, you see hundreds of people just running out to us. And you're just looking through, and you don't know where to go because there's just so much chaos going on. And I remember as I was grabbing my equipment to go see what we were gonna do, some people kept on running up to me and like, you gotta help my friend, you gotta help my friend. I'm like, okay, I'm like, calm down. I'm like, where is your friend? What happened? They jumped. I'm like, from where? From the 30th floor, from up there. I'm like, they're dead. The bridge is that way, just run. And I remember we just grabbed the first 4 or 5 people that we saw that had blood on them, and we run them to the back of our ambulance. The rules almost went out the window that day. You did what you could for who you could.
I really thought I died. Here I am alive. This is not possible. Upon impact, a large chunk of that plane was stuck in the office doorway. The air pressure was so great it was sucking everything out. It looks like a demolition crew came and just ripped the entire floor apart. Every wall is flattened. Every piece of furniture is mangled. I'm hiding on that desk. It looks like somebody took a giant bag of cement and threw it in the air. The jet fuel is smelling so profusely. The sound was so deafening that my ears popped. I got temporarily deaf. All the cables that were hanging in the ceiling dropped, and they're short-circuiting. The sprinkler system came on, and part of the floor collapsed, and it's hovering like this right over the desk. If I don't get burned, well, then I'll get electrocuted. If I don't get electrocuted and burned, well, then the floor is going to collapse. I'm going to die. I'm going to get crushed. And if the three of them miss me, well, then I'm going to get sucked up by the air pressure. One way or the other, I'm gone. And I started to scream.
When the second tower got hit, that was a terrifying moment. Because now you realize this is no accident, this is intentional, and that changes your whole perception of what you're dealing with now. One of my thoughts was going through my head is stay calm. You have to make, I knew I was going to be having to make some very serious decisions involving people's lives, which is my job, which I'm trained for, and they trained very well for on the fire department. And I wanted to make it with as clear a head as I could. So I had to avoid that little panicky thing that you go through at first. I was climbing the stairs in the North Tower, and our orders were to report to the 23rd floor. So I'm looking around the floor, I'm looking for this chief I'm supposed to report to. And I hear chatter. I hear people talking. And of course, I'm curious, nobody's supposed to be there. And I open the doorway, and there's two people inside the stairway. It was an injured secretary, a woman, and her boss stayed with her. This is an incredibly heroic guy. I wish I could remember his name. But he stayed and trying to get his injured secretary out of the building. And they were in stairway C. No, they were alone. There was nobody else in stairway C, and I was worried about them. So I told them, go to stairway B. The fire department's in stairway B. They will help you. And they were frozen. They couldn't move. They just froze. And then I yelled at them. I feel bad, but I yelled at them. I just, get that's stairway B. I'm not going to tell you again, like that. But I had to do it, because I had to startle them to get them out of that. They were in like a funk, it was. So, and finally they listened to me. They went over to stairway B. So, and they survived. They got out. So that was good.
To help anybody, you got to start triaging. You try to determine the injury at a second moment so that the unit coming behind you can immediately treat that person. Green tag for minor injuries, you can understand everything. Then you have the red tag for immediate. And then when we get to the deceased, that means no care needed. At this time, this person is presumed dead. I was underneath the towers, going from area to area. I did not see any living person on the ground. Everybody was deceased. So going past, you just ripped the tags off and left deceased, until I ran into that one person. I put deceased, which is a black tag. And she says, I'm not dead. Call my daughter. But she didn't know what I knew, and she didn't see what I seen. Her head did not hit the ground, or I couldn't see that the head was, because the hair was still intact. She looked like an office personnel. She looked like maybe a woman that was on the plane. And her makeup. But what I saw below the torso was complete, crushed, disfigured, mint. This lady must have came down feet first. You can't take, stop, I'm not dead. I could have done something immediately to help her, but I was panicking myself. I was dealing with death myself. Even though I did not fear death, or I wasn't thinking about death, but I saw death, and I saw death, and I saw death, and I told her she would not survive another couple of minutes. So I lied. I said, "You're okay. This is preliminary. This is just..." I meant to react. I tore the wrong thing off. Relax. They're coming, they're coming, they're coming. Don't worry about what I just did. I had to go conscious about what I was saying, and that I was lying, but I wasn't lying in the fact of her condition. I was lying in the fact that I did think she was dead. And that black tag stayed with me. It took me 3 years to push it back, or from this cortex part of my brain to the frontal part of my brain, a memory, or put it somewhere with the psychiatrist and the clinician that helped me move her around so that she's not in the mind's eye in the daytime, or in the nighttime, or at any time. The human body or the human mind is not positioned, or the brain can never be positioned to deal with tragedy of another human being. It just reminds you that could be your mother, this is your father, this is your family, this is a human being. You don't lie to the dying.
I came out on the 44th floor because that's where our stairwell ends. And there was panic and bedlam and it was pitch black. And then all of a sudden in this darkness is this voice. He was singing, and I think the singing distracted everybody that they stopped in their tracks to see why he was singing or where he was singing from, and it calmed everybody down. And then he said these words. He said, "Today is a proud day to be an American." It was Rick Riscola, our head of security. Rick was so concerned for many years about the security and safety of everybody in the World Trade Center. It had been attacked before, and he was certain it would happen again. He did predict that they would come, if they came again, that they would come from the air. And it's very hard to protect people when they come from the air. So the only protection would be to teach them how to get out in case a catastrophe happened. Rick had them redo the stairwells, repaint them, make sure there was lighting so everybody could see where we were going. And 4 times a year, we walked from 70 all the way down to the Sky Lobby to get out of the building. You know, at first people would just assume this is over the top, it was exaggerated, it was, do we really need to do this? I mean, in my mind, my favorite line was, lightning never strikes the same place twice. So after 93, I didn't even think about it because I was like, no one's ever going to attack the same building again. That day, things were on fire. You know, things are blowing up, and he really was able to refocus everybody pretty quickly and disperse the crowds to the proper stairwells to get them out of there. So seeing Rick was probably like seeing your guardian angel when I saw him on 44. I wasn't nervous at that point. I really wasn't.
Look at his big camera. Look at his big camera.
You know, tell your grandchildren.
You were there.
You were there.
I wasn't emotional on that day. I was not frozen in fear. I wasn't thinking horrible thoughts. My mind, thankfully, protected me from absorbing any carnage. Now, my mind blocked anything that might have been really ugly out there. I don't remember, other than this grayness. Others died and I didn't. I wasn't having any of that in my mind yet. Again, I cannot explain why. I keep wondering, well, am I cold-hearted? I don't think so. I think I'm tender and compassionate when I need to be. Odd.
I was stuck on the 81st floor. I crawled the entire length of the loans department to the lounge, in the computer room, in the communication room. And that's the farthest I could have gone, because one lousy sheetrock wall stood firm. It's one wall. That period of waiting was the most painful thing you would ever imagine. That period of just waiting, hoping that somebody is going to come to get you. And I'm crying out to this invisible God that I've hurt so much.
From the 84th floor, I led a group of people down the stairs, and we arrived on the 81st floor, me in the lead. As I arrived there, a heavy-set woman came up and stopped me. We've just come off a floor in flames and smoke, and we've got to go higher. And of course, I'm stopped now and can't get past her, and bump, bump, bump in behind me comes the rest of my team, if you like. So now there's this group of us, 9, 10 people on the 81st floor landing, who are now beginning the debate, listening to her and starting to discuss, well, do we go up? Do we go down? What do we do now?
I'm behind of a wall, and I'm crying out, wait for me, don't leave me to die.
What I heard was something like, help, help, I'm buried, is anyone there? I can't breathe. Kind of again sobered up and said, okay, I've got a job to do here, and my flashlight back on again. And as I squeezed onto that floor sideways, I have this very, very clear memory of everybody on that landing turning around and starting to go up the stairs. So I started toward the stranger's voice.
I can only hear that voice faintly. I had my hand through that hole, and I'm trying, please, please, my hand is here. Turn to your left. As I hear a little bit, his voice is walking away. His voice is moving away from me. No, 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 come back, towards your right. Come back, towards your left. Come straight, straight, straight now. As I can hear his voice closer, closer, sharper. Look down, look down, look down. Here I am, with my hand, waving towards him. When that light flashed in my hand, all hope was there. Somebody, this person with his flashlight, whoever it is, somebody's gonna rescue me. I'm gonna live. It was that hope. That feeling of knowing that, you know what, I'm gonna live. That feeling of knowing that you're gonna live, that somebody is here to take you home. I'm gonna get to see my children again. I'm gonna be reconciled with my wife again. I'm gonna live. They left me here to die, but I'm gonna go home. And this man really did that. Rescued me so I could go home.
Hallelujah, I've been saved, he said. One thing I gotta know, do you know Jesus Christ? That was a very strange thing to hear at that time, and I wasn't ready for a philosophical discussion, so I stammered out a rather pathetic reply. I go to church every Sunday. That was the best I could do to that question. And come on, we got work to do here. So there was a lot of debris to the right, a debris to the left of me, and this immovable wall between us. And I told him that the only way out of there is for you to come up this wall. So he tried once, and I missed him. I said, you must do this. And over the wall he came, and then his weight on me pushed the desk over. We fell back onto a pile of debris, and he gave me a big kiss.
And he got up and he says, well, what are you doing? He fixed his jacket and his tie. And he stretched his hand, he says, Brian Clark. I said, Stanley Primnan.
And he said, I'm Stanley. He said, we'll be brothers for life. And I said, well, I have no siblings. I said, we can be brothers. And then I noticed I had a puncture wound on my right palm. And Stanley also had a puncture wound on his palm. And I'm the one who did it. I put our hands together and said, we'll be blood brothers for life. And we made our way off the floor back to the 81st floor landing. I shone the light down, and I took that. I didn't see flames. I saw some smoke coming up. And I gratefully took that fateful first step down, and we continued on down.
When we got down to about the 22nd floor, the integrity of the building was really starting to deteriorate. And then there was cracks starting in the walls, and we were like, holy crap, we have to get out of here. And we really started to pick up the pace, like almost running. And all I kept thinking is, this building's not taking me. I'm going home to my kids. So I kept going and going. And when we got to the bottom floor, we were yelling, we're here, and some people were clapping, and they're like, all right, we're right behind you. When we emerged out of the building, there was a sense of relief that we were safe. They ushered us across the street. My little group, we sat down on the curb, and they were triaging right behind us. They were carrying very wounded people behind us, laying them down, trying to triage what they could do. When we looked up and saw the burning on our building, my first thought was, this is coming down. I'm not gonna die here on the street. I just got out of that building. I have to get out of here.
You gotta go. You gotta step Stu, you gotta stay behind. Please keep moving, please, sir. Please keep moving.
Some of the people we work with encountered Rick on one of the lower floors as they were leaving the building. Rick was heading up the stairs. And they said, Rick, come with us. And he's like, no, I have to do one more sweep to make sure all our people are safe. He could have gotten out, but he chose to go back up. All I knew that Rick was doing what Rick was destined to do, and that was get everybody out of that building. And knowing Rick, you knew he wasn't leaving until that last person was out.
The ash filled the air and blocked the sun. And very strangely, as we went down Broadway, and it wasn't densely populated, all of a sudden Stanley was gone. I'm looking around, wondering where he is, and this feeling washed over me like, whoa, did I just imagine this? Was Stanley some sort of a guardian angel? Like, I had real confused doubts about what had just transpired. I learned later from Stanley that he had commandeered a guy in a pickup truck and told him, you drive me to Brooklyn. Apparently the guy did.
Brian said to me later on, had he made the choice to go back up like the others, he would have died. But there was something in that scream that held him to help me. So every time I tell this man, Brian, thank you for saving my life, he says, no, Stan, thank you. That had you not screamed, I would have gone back up, I would have died.
Being as young as I was at the time, that day definitely changed me. You know, there are things that I live with to this day that still haunt my dreams from it. You know, and when I start thinking about on how bad it could be, I keep thinking of that patient that we picked up. Found out a couple weeks later that she was still alive.
This is Mag from Magnificent. I got him last night from a friend of my fiance's. He is so much fun. Normally there's only white blankets here, and then I got Mag last night too. That it made me realize that color has been absent in my environment, and it showed up when it really needed to be there. So.
And I found out later on her name was Debbie. And I remember going to the hospital to go see her. And they brought us over to her room, and she was still intubated at the time, but she was sitting up and conscious, and she's looking at us, and you see her moving her hand, and she's like, it's them, it's them. And she was pointing to us. And all the people that we walked by in the waiting room was her parents, her fiance, and the rest of her family. They came over to us, and they were just hugging us. You know, and it was very emotional for Orlando and I.
And Frank Ruma was the guy who drove the EMT truck that allowed me to get on it.
The few times that I was able to see her in the hospital, she was always upbeat. She's like, don't worry, I'm gonna get better. And throughout my time, she has been an inspiration for me to get me out of my dark places, knowing the fact that I gave someone back their family. I helped bring that person back home.
Our orders were to go upstairs in the North Tower for search and rescue. And we heard a loud noise outside, and I see Billy Burke walking towards me. He's got a funny look on his face. And I look at him and I says, is that what I thought it was? Thinking that a piece of our building fell off. And he just looks at me and he says, the South Tower has just collapsed. Knowing what that meant, that right next door to us, thousands of people were just killed. Some of our friends, too. And I did the quick calculations in my mind, and I says, all right, if that one can go, this one can go, it's time for us to get out of here. And my guys didn't react, they balked. They didn't want to leave. And I said, let's go, it's time to go. So we start our retreat down the B stairway of the North Tower. And I'd just be whispering it to Billy Butler's ear. I says, Billy, can you move a little faster? And the collapse of the North Tower starts with us still inside.
This is insane. How did they hijack the planes? My sister said she was watching the news. One plane hit. What? Then, about 2 minutes later, the next plane hit.
You joking?
Right into the front of the World Trade Center. Isn't that crazy, man?
That's kind of real.
I swear to God, it happened, dude. We're gonna see them on fire right over here.
Aaron, we can see over your left shoulder there the building still smoldering of the World Trade Center.
Well, it is a grotesque sight to look at from about 30 blocks away from where we are. For those of you just joining us, let's just briefly recap what we know. About an hour ago, about 8:45 Eastern Time, one plane crashed into the tower.
We're watching this unfold on TV in the outer ring of the Pentagon.
You can see behind me, and then about a half hour later, a second plane crashed into the tower number.
And we get a call from my friend and classmate from the Navy Command Center, and all he says is, another plane has been hijacked from out of Dulles. It's turned around and it's heading for Washington. So immediately speculation begins. Is it going to be the White House? The White House is too small, too hard to find from the air. The Capitol building's easy to see, but you know, there aren't a lot of people in the Capitol building at any one time. The only building that is easy to find from the air that has a lot of people in it, the largest office building in the world, the Pentagon. Within a couple of minutes, we began to hear the sound of a jet engine, and it was pretty clear this plane was on full throttle, as if it were taken off, but instead of the sound diminishing with time, it just kept getting louder and louder and louder, and we realized this is really happening. They're coming for us. I probably arrived at the scene about 5 minutes after impact. And initially, we were way overwhelmed by the casualties. Every 20, 30 seconds, you'd see somebody stumble out of this open doorway. But there were people that are still trapped in the building. And so I ran down to the doorway. I got a few feet inside and I trip over somebody. And I could feel there's what I think is a woman 2 Army guys ran back in with me, and the 3 of us half dragged, half carried her just a few feet outside the building and laid her down again.
Everybody out! Everybody out!
I asked her what her name was, and she said her name was Antoinette. And she said, am I going to die? You know, it was clear that she was struggling to breathe. So I told her, no, Antoinette, you're not going to die. You're going to be fine. And I just stayed with her and talked to her.
Investigating reports that there was a hijacking of an American Airlines 767 out of Boston. That was perhaps one of the planes that was involved in this disaster this morning. Apparently both towers of the World Trade Center hit by aircraft. And additionally, a report that a plane has crashed into the Pentagon this morning. West Wing of the White House has been evacuated. President Bush was not there. He was at a school in Sarasota, Florida. The New York City Fire Department is issuing a call for a total recall of all officers and firefighters. Trump, what you're doing, report to your company. A major disaster is occurring in New York City this morning.
I stepped into the newsroom, and the assistant news director turned to me. And he pointed his finger at me. He said, NJ, grab a cameraman, grab a crew, and go downtown. I said, who do I take? I turned to the assignment editor. I said, whom do I take? And he said, the first guy out of the garage. Get in the truck and go. At that point, I was still looking at this as a story, as a news story that we were going to tell on the 6 o'clock news that night. On our way down, we resolved we were going to go into the towers. We wanted to document the heroism of the firefighters.
Gotta go out. Grab your guy and get him out. I don't care. I don't care. Get out. What's your badge number? Get out. Don't worry about it. Don't turn around. 44. Get out. Who's that guy? Get that guy out. Where's he going? I understand.
When he confronted us so quickly and immediately, we were sort of taken aback. But then it was clear, really, like almost instantly, that, you know what, he's absolutely right. We better not go any farther. But yeah, I mean, he might have saved our lives. So we crossed West Street, and we saw the fire command post there. The top 2 fire commanders were both there. Like generals organizing a battle plan. So we felt like we were safe there.
I'm sure half a dozen already got it. Yeah, no one group.
And there was this whole battalion of firefighters in rows standing there. I mean, they looked like soldiers who were going to go into a battle. But you look at their faces, and they look frightened. They looked scared to me.
Certainly people are streaming out of buildings and lower Manhattan, we can now tell you that there's not going to be trading on the New York Stock Exchange. They're evacuating the New York Stock Exchange. NASDAQ was hoping to start its computerized trading day about 2 minutes from now at 10 o'clock. We don't know if that's going to happen. To this point, the White House, the Capitol Building, the State Department, the Treasury in Washington, all evacuated after the blast struck the Pentagon. Manhattan is sealed off. If you want to get in, you cannot at this point in time.
We both just kind of stood there, and I said to Marty, I said, well, you know, let's shoot a stand-up here while we're here. And so I did, okay, take 1 and 2, 1.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the 2 towers. Debris continues to fall and to rain on the people below. There are people hanging from the windows 90 stories up, and a number of bodies have actually hit the pavement.
I did the first take on the stand-up, and I didn't like it at all. I thought, oh, that doesn't sound right. I don't like that. I said to Marty, you know, let me do another one. Take 2.
Take 2 and 2, 1. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
The whole top of the building fell off, dude.
Holy dude! Look, it's gone. Look, it was a bomb in that fucking thing.
Oh my God, man.
Look, it's gone, man.
This is not happening.
This is so.
This is not happening.
The entire World Trade Center on the south building just fell. I just saw the whole thing. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't see anything out. The whole thing went down.
What?
Oh my God. Oh, I saw the building crumble. It's all the way down. I can't see at what point it's still standing. Oh my God.
A situation that started bad just gets worse and worse and worse. The World Trade Center, South Tower, has totally collapsed. Again, we've had no reports of casualties. Obviously, there are going to be...
Everybody was running away. And we didn't know where we were running to. I turn around and there's this door, and it's a way to escape.
Marty, I'm Egan. I'm rolling. All right. We don't know what's happened inside. What we know we have to do is just keep running the other way. The firemen are going this way, so are the police officers. We don't know what's happening. Out!
Everybody else, let's go! She was just in the building right here.
All these years, I'm asking myself, what if there was no door? And you know there were people behind us that did not make it through the door.
Both Jen and I ran back across the street where we thought the entrance to the building was. We hit a glass wall. And that's where we got buried alive. The 10 to 12 people that were with us, we were all banging, clawing, trying to break that window. It wasn't breaking.
And at that point, my nose and my mouth were just filling up with dust and whatever else was in the air, and I couldn't breathe. Even with my shirt over my mouth, I couldn't breathe. And I remember slowly sinking to the ground and thinking, this is it. I'm gonna die. And I'm getting upset about it now, but in that moment, it was very peaceful. And even though I didn't know that the tower had collapsed, I didn't really know what had happened. I do remember thinking distinctly that at least my parents want to get my body back. My parents, I was whole. I was whole, I wasn't damaged, and my parents wouldn't get me back. My parents were going to have me and to take home.
I stepped back and I basically said a little prayer because I knew we were going to die. I grabbed Jen, I closed my eyes, and then all of a sudden, one individual got to his gun. There was this pap, pap, pap noise. Next thing I knew, I was being yanked through and over broken glass. Later on, I found out it was a police officer who got to his secondary gun and shot out the window and saved us all.
Yo, you have another tank? In, Yoily! Yoily, in! Deep breath, in, hold it!
I don't think anybody really understood, even then, what happened to the Twin Towers. I was numb, like in shock. I still don't remember. It was disbelief. This cannot be real.
As we exited out of the tower, I could hear this rush of air, feeling the heat, and then this thumping sound, and then it was just smacked down, just plastered down, completely buried. A slab of concrete falling at an angle had knocked me down, but it was protecting me. I was sort of in a little cocoon, and it got just dead quiet to the point where I said, you know what? I'm dead. At that point, the thoughts going through my mind were, well, my kids, I have a birthday to plan, and my daughter's gonna be born. I'm not gonna be around for my kids. I won't even see my daughter's face when she's born. I have to be there. But as I started to move, someone grabbed my ankle. Said he was a security guard. And he said, if we stay here, they'll find us. I said, if you stay here, you're either gonna smother or you're gonna burn to death. And I started digging, and he followed behind me. And finally we saw a little peephole of light, and I looked at him. I said, okay, I'm gonna push you through. He was smaller than I was. I said, see if you can move some stuff so I can get out. And he squeezed past me, and I helped push him out. And I got back down. I was waiting. I didn't see anything happening. And when I stuck my head back out, he had been walking away down a pile of debris. So I started yelling at him, yo, yo, and he just kept waving, like, come on, come on. And I was the only one talking. And I said, I can't get out. And at that point I could see he's wearing like his security guard suit. But he just kept going. At that moment, I got really angry, and I picked up a piece of concrete that was laying there, and I actually threw it at him. That's how angry I was. I missed him, you know, and luckily I did, because I would have had to live with that the rest of my life. But once he left me there, just the next thought is, okay, I'm on my own. You're gonna have to do what you have to do.
When you're in the military, you train for battle. You know, I've been to sea on submarines where we had casualties, where I had to run to the scene of the casualty and you know, put out a fire or something like that. Nothing compared to what we experienced that day. And at some point, one of the security guards started yelling, "There's another plane coming. Everybody needs to move away from the building."
Colonel, you doing anything? We need to gather up this paramedic equipment and move it. What do we got going on? There's an aircraft coming. Let's go! Move! Move! There! Move! It's triage!
Two planes hit the World Trade Center. Pentagon is a huge target. It just made sense for two planes to hit the Pentagon too. So we took this threat very seriously.
Get back! Get back! They got another inbound plane! Josh! Everybody get back! Get back! Get back! Get back!
Every airport in the United States has been shut down as the FAA and the government tries to figure out exactly, are there more attacks yet to come? CNN's David Ensor joins us from Washington. David, where in the Capitol are you now?
Well, Aaron, I'm in our bureau, but I have on the telephone with me Barbara, who is the wife.
I remember looking down and seeing the smoke. And I remember thinking, if at any point in my life what I did mattered, it was now. They lost radar contact with Flight 93. Any aircraft attempting to enter Washington-class Bravo airspace will be shot down. But it normally takes 10 to 20 minutes to get real missiles loaded up on the jets. So we didn't have any live weapons on board. There's no way for us to shoot this airliner down. I was just a brand new wingman. I had recently earned my combat mission ready status. My flight lead at the time was our director of operations, Mark Sasseville. His call sign was Sass.
Go for 86, turn right, heading 080. We're going to back you for the traffic.
And I distinctly remember I run after Sass down the hallway, down the stairs into life support where our flight lockers are and where all of our gear is. And I'm zipping up my flight suit when Sass looks at me and says, "I'll ram the cockpit." And I knew I would ram the tail. We knew without missiles that this would be a suicide mission. Going after a civilian airliner with innocent Americans on board. And these were citizens that we had sworn to protect. We flew to the northwest, and we searched and we searched. We were too late for anything. The passengers of Flight 93, they had to make that choice.
On the morning of September 11th, I heard my sister-in-law, Kathy, run out of her bedroom door and down the hall and answered the kitchen phone. And I heard Kathy say, "Well, we love you too, Mark. Let me get your mom." And then she saw him. He said, "Alice, come talk to Mark. He's been hijacked." And I took the phone and I heard Mark's voice. He said, "Mom, this is Mark Bingham. I just want to tell you I love you. I'm on a flight from Newark to San Francisco, and there are 3 guys on board who've taken over the plane, and they say they have a bomb. You believe me, don't you, Mom?" I said, "Yes, Mark, I believe you. Who are those guys?" And then the phone went dead. After Mark's phone call was dropped, the 3 of us, Kathy and Vaughn and I, stood around in the kitchen trying to figure out what to do. At about that time, Kathy, who had been watching the television for a few minutes, said, "Guys, come look at this." So we went in and into the den there and watched, and we saw images of the North Tower and the South Tower in flames. And we realized that Mark needed to be told that he was part of a much bigger scenario. So I excused myself. I went into another room and dialed his cell phone number.
You've reached the mobile phone voicemail. Bingham, leave a message.
Mark, this is your mom. The news is that it's been hijacked by terrorists. They are planning to probably use the plane to hit some site on the ground. If you possibly can, try to overpower these guys if you can, because they're hell-bent. Try to call me back if you can. I love you, sweetie. Good luck. Bye-bye.
End of message.
He was a young man. He was a force for good in the world. I had never taught Mark how to kill anybody, but I saw him do some pretty rough stuff on the rugby pitch, but always in fun and in the spirit of sportsmanship. And now I was hoping against hope that my son could be a killer. But I knew that Mark would be able to seize the moment.
At any point, it would have been easy to just sit down and that would have been the end of me. But then I just kept thinking, I can't just lay here waiting. Don't give up. Just, I don't know if everybody has that don't give up. Most of the New Yorkers I know, they don't give up. They don't. You can knock them down, they get up again. You knock them down, they get up again. And I just squeezed through the concrete, the rebar. I scraped my body down from the top of my head to my feet. At the moment, that was the only way out. There was no one else there. It was me getting through there or not getting out. When I came out through that hole, it was like a blizzard down there. papers, gray, embers flying around. But when I looked straight up, perfectly blue sky, and I could see my tower behind me, still standing there. And that's when I realized I'm still around. Whatever had happened to me, it didn't get me. I survived. I was lucky. I was very lucky.
Still around, guys. Still around. God bless you. We'll make it. What's your name? Tom Canavan. Tom, what happened, man? Big boom. Come down the steps. Everything fine till we got to the basement, and then everything just fell in. I got trapped under there with another guy. Crawled out. Kept getting hit in the head. Bounced all around. Finally, we fought our way out over the rubble.
Yeah.
Come on down. We did all right.
All right, wait a minute, Tom. Let's go. Animals straight down. Animals straight down.
Hoorah!
Kitty, let me interrupt for just a second. The Associated Press is reporting that federal officials fear that another hijacked plane is headed towards the Pentagon. And I'm looking for the time on this. We will continue to check that out. Kitty, I apologize for interrupting. Why don't you continue?
The three of us were very quiet. We all knew that it was a very grave situation that Mark faced. My brother tried to cheer me a little bit. He pointed out that since the hijackers had been so successful taking down the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, that maybe Flight 93 would land safely. And even as he was saying it and I was listening, we knew, both of us, that that just wasn't going to happen that way.
We've got the cops confirming this plane crash in Somerset, Pennsylvania. We don't know if it's a big plane, a small plane, any relation to this. What's that?
United Flight 93, Newark to SFO, has crashed in western Pennsylvania. Again, United Flight 93, Newark to SFO, has crashed in Pennsylvania per United Airlines.
I'm now told that United Airlines is now saying that can you tell me the number of the flight 93 has crashed in Pennsylvania. Now, It crashed in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, near the town of Shanksville, south of Pittsburgh. We're told about 80 miles outside of Pittsburgh. It is not known how many.
That was hard to take in.
Crew were on board, although initial reports.
But I knew that I would never see Mark alive again, and none of those innocent people on Flight 93 would see their loved ones again.
The plane that crashed in western Pennsylvania, we are now told, was United Flight 93 out of Newark, and it was headed for San Francisco. Now, was that one of the hijacked planes? Did some heroic pilot perhaps save an awful lot of lives in Washington? We don't know at this point, but we do know that it was United Flight 93 out of Newark, heading west on its way to San Francisco.
Even though our boys were not able to save their own lives, they saved countless lives on the ground. And I'm very grateful for what they were able to do that day.
We saw a lot of bridges, and we're drinking beer, and we bought some toys. And I'm deeply in love. And that's about it. All the good stuff.
I don't know where I lucked out so much to have a son like Mark Bingham. He was a wonderful young man. I can't take any credit for it. It just was something that Mark had, and very grateful for that.
You're really seeing a lot of people trying to move north, away from any place downtown near the World Trade Center area. People are just walking. The subways are stopped entirely all around the area of the World Trade Center. You can't get below 14th Street, and there just feels to be like a massive exodus of people walking north to get away from the area as far away as
Hey, Nation 6, ESU-1 needs someone to check Tower 2 and give them an update. About 15 floors down from the top. It looks like it's totally glowing red. On the inside, it's inevitable. You say it looks like the building's gonna collapse. I would evacuate all people within the area of that second building. I don't think this has too much longer to go.